And hello, Fran. We're so happy to have you this morning, and your garden looks beautiful this morning, and I want you to tell us all about it, and maybe others will become interested in it.
Thank you so very much for coming and letting everybody see what's going on. All right. My job is to oversee the property, and so I'm a champion weed killer. I do have some ideas about the flowers that we should be wanting to plant and by seed and by plant, and that's the butterfly and the bee and the bird plants, and they're all basically wildflowers and been hybridized from wildflowers and made beautiful big flowers. So those are the things that I think a lot of the women like to think about. And now I do have posted the plots that are available, and there are 14 plots available. And come on out and choose one. Even if you want to plant one or two plants, we can work that out.
Okay. Viola, tell us about your plot.
Well, this year my plot is just going to have zinnias and parsley and basil. Unless when they start blooming or coming up, I may add some other things. Previously I've had too many things in my plots, and they were crowding and they were not doing well. So this year I'm just doing flowers.
Okay, thank you. Pat, we went out to the garden today and saw some interesting plumbing going on. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I want to tell you about that because I like to try something new every year. Sometimes it's a new vegetable, sometimes it's a new process. So I've used drip irrigation in the past, but I always had a dedicated water line. And so I don't want to monopolize the water in the garden. So I rigged up a 5-gallon bucket with drip irrigation coming out of it. And so I can fill that bucket up and walk away, and it'll water my tomato plants for the next couple of hours. And that's important because tomatoes don't like water splashed on their leaves. So I can drop the water right at the base of the plant.
So tell us about some of the other plants you have in your plot.
I also planted some cantaloupe. It's kind of in the middle of my plot, and I'm going to try to grow that vertically. I've done that before with watermelon, so I'm going to try it with cantaloupe. And then at the south end of my plot, I've got 3 rows for corn, so I'm going to try to grow some corn out there.
Okay. Fran, tell us about the things that you're growing in your plots.
Well, I like to try new things that I've never grown before. And I had last year, I had a candle tree. Years ago, we used to be able to get the candle tree at nurseries, but Mexico put a high price on the seeds, so that stopped. I found it in Stillwater. The bees loved it. They swarmed the tree, and it was beautiful. Had bright yellow 4-inch candles on it, and everybody enjoyed that as well as the bees. That was one unusual plant. And I have a fig plant, and it froze back this winter, but it is growing profusely, and it will have figs on it this year, so we're watching that. And well, I can't think of another that is unusual.
And you've got poppies, is that right?
Well, the poppies plant themselves. Also, the spider plant, flower, plants itself in the fall. The larkspur plants itself in the fall. So if you want a cutting garden, those are the ones that you would plant, and they come up, volunteer, and you have your plot going for you. All you have to do is gather the seed and put the color of the flower on the packet and and you're good to go.
Fran, I've seen a storage building out in the garden area. Can you tell us what that's used for?
The tools, and most of the gardeners that come from outside and take up residence have tools, and they donate those tools. We've got almost everything that we need.
Okay, and I've heard of a tea that's available in the garden area. Tell us about that.
That is Catherine Winslow's deal, and we have big drums that we invite everyone to bring their table scraps to, everything but meat and oil, put in that drum, and then water stripped in it, and what comes out of the drum is our tea, and it is the best fertilizer. We have a little dipper and buckets, and we just dip our fertilizer.
And we're not throwing scraps in the trash, and it's not going to a landfill.
Right.
We're using
It's
the
conservation.
byproduct.
Conservation, a big thing.
Good. Fran, tell us about the plants that Catherine Winslow has in the garden.
Well, she has a lot of ordinary plants that do well, but what I love is her grapevine, and it is profuse this year, and she does her jelly, and she does a gorgeous job of doing jelly. You have to have just the right touch for all these things, and she has it.
Okay, and I understand Gene Spillman also has a plot. Can you tell us about what he has in his garden?
Gene needs to tell you what he's doing. He's got all tomatoes I don't know anything about. Pat probably could tell you about all his tomatoes. They're hybrid, he says.
He's got cantaloupe going too.
As a gardener is passionate, and when you can find what you're passionate about where you're living, it's altogether wonderful.
It's kind of spiritual too. I mean, to get out there in nature and a little bit of wind going, some sunshine, and getting your hands down in the dirt, it can be a kind of a spiritual experience.
Well, for me, it's altogether spiritual.
Yeah.
Because who created all of this? We're just his helper.
And I'm really depending on the spirit with my garden.
Viola, tell us about what's your favorite thing about the resident garden?
The gardening? Oh, just being out in the fresh air and seeing things grow. I mean, putting little seeds in the ground, which you can hardly see some of them. They're so tiny, and then having them, sprout and bring pleasure either to the palate or to the eye.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Well, to me, it was a selling point. It was part of the selling point of the many reasons to move to Epworth, because I did that. I've done gardening for a long, long time, and to have to give that up would have been hard. And so my favorite part about it is it's available out there. And I think for people who might be thinking about whether to do it or not, the mistakes are just opportunities to learn to do something a different way. And there's so much success in gardens, and I don't know, I think it's worth giving it some consideration.